Welcome to the Talking Shh podcast. That's right. We'll be talking about music, albums, live shows, bands we love, bands not so much. Again, we're talking shh. Join me, Scott Nokon, and Stephen James. And welcome back, Scott, Stephen, talking shh. So we were going in last episode, which this one is number 42. So 42, Stephen.
That blows me away.
Yeah, it's
absolutely blows me away.
So we keep humming along. But in episode 41, the last episode, we were going through the rock and roll nominees for the year. There were 14 of them. There were snubs, a number of them. We kind of gave our opinion on a lot of it, and we felt, you know what, let's kind of go into a little bit more detail on this episode, specifically into heavy metal versus the Rock Hall. Why the snub? So despite its massive influence on rock music, heavy metal is often overlooked by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why? So in this episode, we're going to dive into the Rock Hall's history of ignoring metal legends, how Iron Maiden, Motorhead, and others have been passed over. Is there a bias against metal? Is it the critics? Is it the selection process? Or is it something deeper? There's a few metal bands that broke through, but why did it take so long? What do fans and artists have to say? Will be the fan side of it. I guess we're an artist too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And eventually, will the Hall ever fully embrace heavy metal? I think it's going to take someone to strongly advocate for metal, right? Be it Eddie Trunk, be it a Tom Morello. I don't know. I think this is something that, you know, might be one of the more controversial topics in rock metal specifically. So
yes,
again, as I don't lose my lunch talking through this episode, because it actually does make me kind of sick if we get talking about it.
It actually is sickening if you think about it. And real quick, who fans were most upset about? It feels like every year there's a contingent upset. Iron Maiden has not made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet. Singer Bruce Dickinson has publicly shared disdain for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So again, I mentioned in another previous show about Kiss saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Motley Crue. Really? I mean, when you think back to the beginning of the really heavy metal, you know, when I think of the US Festival in San Bernardino,
yeah,
and that whole show, all those bands that played on that show should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know if Quiet Riot is. I'm not, but Quiet Riot played, Judas Priest played. I mean, all kinds of huge heavy metal, Ozzy, the bands that have really created a nuance in heavy metal really should be embraced. If the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wants to really continue their thing, what they should do is make categories, right? I mean, it almost goes to the Grammys, best in rock, best in that. But when you think of rock and roll, let's go back to the roots and what grew these bands to rock and roll. Iron Maiden, again, it's such a slap in the face that this band that has gone through how many albums, tours, they're never played on the radio, and they still continue to sell out every show they play, every tour up until this day.
Yeah, agreed. In that, could they be the biggest snub? Quite possibly. Yeah, I think it's there. So in that, you know, let's run through, like I said, you know, Maiden, Motorhead, others passed over. Let's talk about those others that have been passed over. Judas Priest just got in, but it took forever. Yeah.
Outcast over Iron Maiden. Sorry, I just read that.
No.
Sorry.
Pantera. Pantera, pivotal band, you know. Yeah. They never even have been nominated. I think just on their influence and impact alone, a nomination. Anthrax, one of the big four of thrash metal, never been nominated. This one is kind of criminal. Slayer.
I'm
They've
just gonna
been
say Slayer.
Yeah, they've been eligible since 2008 and never been nominated. And again, obviously, what we're talking about, it is a point of contention in regard to what exactly is their selection criteria and what is their inability to recognize heavy metal. Do they think it's just a subspecies? Is it something that's inferior? Again, I think there's gatekeepers
I
tied
agree.
to it. There's elites tied to it.
I agree.
Um, Now, in that, so compare and contrast, here are, and this list isn't extensive at all, so it'll take me probably 20 seconds. So allow me this, Stephen. While metal has been often overlooked, as we were talking about, a few legendary metal bands have been inducted. A few. Here are some of the most notable ones. Black Sabbath in 2006. Um, Again, the start of heavy metal, the pioneer of heavy metal. Metallica in 2009, Deep Purple in 2016, Judas Priest, they made it in, and maybe this is they made it in under the Musical Excellence Award rather than the standard voting process. So even that, someone had to kind of find an angle to say,
Stupid.
let's get him in, but it wasn't through the voting process. Uh,
Stupid.
Rage Against the Machine, while not metal, they fall more into that hard rock ish, and certainly people have cited him with that. Um, Again, I think they're highly influential. I think they had an impact on music. Definitely left a lasting mark. Not around that long, but they were able to do it. So I'm good with that. But then, like I said, we talked about the Maidens, the Motorhead, the Slayer, Pantera. Um, it just it's just kind of comical, the lack of heavy metal representation. It's been this long running controversy, and in that, even some of the bands that are more than deserving and have been nominated or elected still and deservedly so throw shade. Like, I wouldn't even show up.
Mhm.
Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello showed up, and that was it. Now, granted, they have issues with the band. That's why they're not together. But in that, people just kind of look at it as just a joke. So it's unfortunate. I was trying to see if there's anything else in here that kind of points out is, like list every single band that's eligible, right?
Well, when you think of again, I keep going back to the US Festival, and if you watch all the bands that played on that rock and roll night, although most of it was heavy metal.
Yeah,
I mean, Quiet Riot, kind of heavy metal, but what is heavy metal? Heavy metal is basically the big balls of rock and roll.
yeah.
They took what they knew and they learned and made it into their own. And why shouldn't they be recognized for what their accomplishments are? It just pisses me off because it's like you look at the again, that list is so out of whack. That is not rock and roll.
Yeah,
I love Mariah Carey. She's got an amazing voice. She is not rock and roll. How is
not
that
rock and
rock and
roll.
roll?
No. Let me run through some other ones. We'll have fun
Sure.
with this list. Um, so we talked about Maiden, Motorhead, Judas Priest. Dio. Dio has never even been nominated.
Jesus Christ.
Um, Sabbath was inducted, but he was excluded from that. I guess you can't have two singers, but that would have been deserving, I think, in doing so. Scorpions eligible since '97. Um, I don't know. Are they Hall of Fame worthy? Maybe not.
I know you have a disdain for them, but I
Yeah,
believe that they deserve
yeah.
a
And they were on the Heavy Metal Day at the US Festival.
yeah.
Blue Oyster Cult, eligible since '97. Impactful, yeah, they had stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Again, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax,
Mm-hmm.
Exodus, Testament, Venom. Um, Venom might be a stretch, but they are the pioneers of black metal, and they've been
Yeah.
eligible for 21 years. Def Leppard was inducted in 2019, but that took a while. Motley Crue never nominated. They've been eligible since
What
2007.
the hell?
Rat, I don't see them ever
Mhm.
even sniffing a nomination, but
No, good band
that's a
though.
great band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twisted Sister, Wasp, Cinderella. No. Pantera, again, highly influential, eligible since 2012. Korn
Mm.
has been eligible for the last 6 years.
So
Um,
Slipknot,
yeah, it's Slipknot.
3 years.
Um, so would they get it? Deftones should at least get a nod.
Good band.
Eligible since
Good band.
2020. System of a Down since 2023. Those bands again, those stand out as kind of unique bands that really kind of help shape a generation. Other notable bands, Alice in Chains, talking about them on most recent episodes too,
Yes.
Stephen. It's like
Yes.
um, definitely kind of help push forward more of the grunge scene for sure. I'll throw these out there. I personally like them, but I think people would just not even know who they are. Um, that would be voting very selective. King Diamond, Merciful Fate, eligible since 2008. Opeth,
For sure.
fantastic band, but I think it goes over the head of people. Dream Theater, same thing. They've been eligible for 11 years and really kind of cited as progressive metal pioneers. But, you know, again, no one's really going to look in their direction at all. But you look at some of the other ones that we talked about, how far back they went,
Right.
and there's artists that you don't even know about. Um,
Yeah.
so why do they overlook? I
Yeah.
commented,
I
I'll
get
let
it.
you, Stephen, again, I think it's gatekeeper. I think it's kind of elitist. I think there's a level of cluelessness. What say you?
Well, I mean, I can go back to a couple. Well, I'm going to go back to one. When Rush finally got inducted, and Getty had his thing, and Neil had his thing, and I loved Alex when he just went up there and was going blah 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 blah. If anybody ever gets a chance, Google Alex Lifeson giving his nomin or his speech during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It just said everything about what this entity is.
Yeah,
It's blah blah blah. What I think at some point some of these bands that have deserved it that get into it, they don't give a fucking shit anymore. Excuse my language. They're like, okay, yeah, it is what it is. It's not. I don't think it's as elite anymore as it was maybe 20 years ago, when you're like, oh yeah, you got Huey Lewis in the news and whatever. I don't know,
yeah,
but to me, it's a snub for a lot of these great bands that have put out lots of records, have still tour, have the most amazing musical history, and you think, why are you putting the White Stripes? And I keep going back to that, and I love the White Stripes. Jack White is a great music, but where does that go wrong when you go, well, look at, there's like at least 15, 20 bands that could easily take that place. White Stripes
could.
could be 20 years ago, 20 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in our last episode we talked about the induction process, but I want to hit
Yeah.
on it again really quick if I can, because
Yeah, please.
what I didn't have in front of me at the time and I do now, um, the number
The Beast.
of yes, yes, which that record alone, if that was the only record they ever put out, should warrant them an immediate first ballot, but clearly not.
Sorry.
Uh, Grammys, 13,000 voting members. Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, over 1,200, which
Are
includes
they?
artists, historians, and music industry members who receive a ballot to cast their vote. Each voter can select up to 5 nominees, and the top vote getters are then inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, and again, we talked about the fan vote before. It's like it pretty much it doesn't amount to anything. I think if you had, well, I'll just put a number out. If you had 10,000 people vote for Iron Maiden, that would count as one vote in the hall. I think that's how they kind of cull all those together. But again, I guess I'd be interested in, who is part of the nominating committee. That has to be
Right.
even smaller, right?
Right.
Because the voting group is that. So again, in that, who are these people? Who are these people? Jerry Seinfeld. Who are these people that are putting the nominations out there to begin with? Again, if you guys know, comment below. And I'm sure I could search around and I could find some more details, and I can do that while we're talking. But really, like, you know, in that, at that point, is it like and we're not going there, Stephen, but I'm saying, is it like
Ah,
the Supreme Court? Like you're
I
on
was going
there
to
and
say
you
that
got
same
some
thing. How funny.
92-year-old, banjo, nothing wrong with banjos. So
I've
banjo
tried to play it.
maker
It's hard.
yeah, it's not easy to play, right?
No,
That has
exactly.
been in there and they're in for life or what? What exactly, what is the criteria for be it as a nominating committee? I don't know.
We don't know. And is it money? Is it fame? Is it influence? I mean, again, what I brought up previously is that there's bands that have reunited, and not saying everyone on that list has,
Right.
but why all of a sudden is a band that's reunited on that list? And that's where I believe there's influence and money, and people saying, well, they're gonna make a ton of money on this tour. Why isn't Linkin Park in there then?
Yeah, and they would be eligible. So breaking news again, I just looked this up, so I had to do it. But
Bring it.
I asked the question, so here's the answer. So if you guys listening were wondering how many, and Stephen, I'll let you take a guess at this. How many members are part of the nominating committee? What would be your
For
guess?
for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Yes.
how many nominating members?
How many?
Mm,
How many are? God, I can't talk now. How many are part of the nominating committee?
900?
30 to 40.
That's it?
Yeah. So these are artists,
What are they?
executives, historians, kind of
No,
hysterical, and
no,
journalists.
no,
The exact membership can vary annually and
no.
is kept confidential. Probably so,
Of
because
course,
you'd get some
you
nice,
get your
nice
ass
letters. I
beat.
want to, I want to search right now.
I want to know who the F they are.
Yeah. So the fact
That's
that that can
bullshit.
vary annually, there you lose, I think, any of the legacy. And again, who knows? Like, I
30.
mean, it could vary annually. There's 30 or 40. Is it 10% that gets turned over every year? Is it 50%? Don't know. We could probably search around for that. But you just look at it, it kind of, you know, in it, is it a broken system just in that?
I have a question.
Yes, sir, please.
Who the F are these people?
It's
Are they musicians?
confidential. Well, it's
Well,
artists, executives, historians, and journalists.
bullshit. Who are they? We
Good,
should be
good.
able to go, you don't, who are you? Who are these people? I mean, it just is such a disgrace. Ugh, sorry,
No,
I digress. I
I'm trying to
mean,
I'm trying to see if I can crack into
it'd be nice to find out. I mean, I don't care about their names. I would never divulge their names, but I bet you there are nobody that anybody would be like, who's that guy? Why would that guy? I think that people that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations should be people that have already been nominated. You take one of each one and go, let's bring those people in and let them make a decision.
yeah,
Because, you know, there's many genres of music up until this point, and you should take one of each, whether it's a pop, metal, punk, blah blah blah, and get them in a room together. But we don't know who these people are that nominate these bands, and that's where I think that there's a discrepancy.
yeah. So I have about 10 names here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Um, and as they say that the membership is kept secret,
Yeah.
confidential,
Mm,
confidential. You can still, and again, being mindful. I'm not, you know, is everything
yes.
always completely factual on on the internet.
Everything's true on the internet.
Yeah, it is. So of course, but in this, and I've said this name a few times, so I'm fine saying it again, and we'll kind of end on this, Stephen. Um, Tom Morello. Um,
Such a great guitar
he's
player.
been in various he's they and these are listed as various members over the years. So are they now? Were they in the past?
Mm,
Would they be in the future?
mm.
So let me go through, but definitely right there. And I love this just in the description. Known, and we were saying this a lot, known for his advocacy for metal bands
Yes,
inclusion. He's probably the maybe the sole reason that Judas Priest was recognized that way,
I
and
agree.
probably pushes hard as hell if he's still part of it. And if not, someone needs to step in and be that catalyst, which may not be there. But let me run through these names. Some of these we may know of, others we don't. John Landau, renowned music critic and manager, served as the chairman at some point of time. Dave Marsh, a music critic and author, talked about Tom Morello. Seymour Stein, co-founder of Sire Records. So, so okay, you're head of a record label. Like, okay, you're going to get these guys in. Robbie Robertson, he was the guitarist and songwriter for the band. The band,
Okay.
I remember the name. Paul Schaefer, we know Paul Schaefer,
Paul's
musician
a
and
good guy.
band leader.
Yeah.
Probably many years
David
ago he
Letterman
did that.
band.
Stephen Van Zandt, um, E
Another good
Street and
guy.
actor, Sopranos.
Part of the E
Quest,
Street band. Yeah.
yeah, Questlove, who what's that?
Drummer. Amazing drummer.
Jimmy
Yep.
Fallon, right? He's that band.
Yep.
Yeah, frontman, joint frontman for the Roots. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
terrific artist. I
Yes.
don't know this individual, but I'll just say music critic and contributing editor for the Rolling Stone, Anthony DeCurtis. David Frick, I know the him, senior editor at Rolling Stone. So, again, in that,
Rick off.
and it says again, these individuals, among others, have played significant roles in shaping the nominations for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you played a role, all right,
Yeah.
but is it in the criteria? Does it need to
Accurate.
be a little bit more precise
Yeah.
in the
Absolutely.
fact that you have 30 to 40 members that are deciding who even makes it onto the list? And then from there, if you're a member, you can vote for up to five of them. And I've seen many. Again, Eddie Trunk. I've said that name a few times. He publishes his ballot, so I appreciate that. He'll do it again. He'll get when he gets it in the mail. He'll go ahead and
Eddie's a good
publish it
guy.
again. So it's like he recognizes rock and metal bands. Um, so in that, I guess what it all comes down to, who really knows what's going behind the scenes? 30 to 40 members are not representative to me. I think most people would agree of the greater good of music. It's definitely going to be, if you have a few guys that are part of Rolling Stone and you're even a casual reader, they never factor in metal hardly in anything. You look at their best of list, and if you see a Metallica record, like, oh, okay, well, gee, that's kind of obvious, but there's no depth there. And again, why? Maybe that's a comment we'll talk about in a future episode, Stephen. Again, opinions matter.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone opinions are like a-holes,
Buttholes.
right? But in that, still, it kind of makes a mockery of the whole process. And there's a reason why, I don't know what the ratings are and if they even have them, because it's, probably thrown on cable somewhere. But, after a while, you kind of lose any integrity in the whole process. And I think that ship is long sailed. And there is a separate award show. You talked about different genres, like the heavy metal awards or metal awards, which I think coincides with NAMM. And it's fine. It's a place for them to give recognition, only because I guess that's part of being, a heavy metal fan.
Right.
And playing metal is, you're always kind of viewed as the outcast. No
Yeah.
pun intended for Outcast, who's nominated this year. But
No
you're
pun
always kind of,
intended.
yeah, viewed as something else. So you know what? Maybe we don't need to be part of this exclusive club. Maybe
I agree.
maybe there's no room for it because there's just not an appreciation. And while a couple folks, Tom Morello, thank you for that are strong advocates, as it's been stated. You know what? Maybe it's just not meant to be.
And I also have to wonder. I mean, because we all have to think about is money and an influence too, where
Yeah.
you can just be like, this artist makes, tens of millions of dollars, even more, and go, well, yeah, I think they need to be a part of it. I mean, we don't know. I'm not saying that that's what it is, but money talks and BS walks. So we don't know. I'm just speculating. How do you go from this genre to this genre and skip these amazing bands and put this in your lineup and you go, what the
Yeah.
hell?
It's really, if you look at it, 30 to 40 individuals are not representative of the masses. They're not,
They need to be stopped.
and in that is there infighting in that room,
I would
probably.
imagine.
I'd love to be a fly in the wall.
Me too.
Um, they should, if you want to have transparency, the 30 to 40, well, you end up seeing what are the nominees, but I'd love to be able to see, what was considered and just barely missed the cut.
Yeah,
Who knows? Maybe there needs to be an expose, and there's probably um,
absolutely. You nailed it.
documentaries or something out there, but maybe that's something we dig into
You know
further.
what would be kind of fun is to do a talking documentary on this to go really going on with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and how votes are created and what bands are listed into this each year because it just seems fishy. I mean,
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of people have talked about it. They're like, it's so weird. I don't get it. And we want to have the bands that we know, Scott and I, to be rightfully nominated and inducted into this whatever Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And again, we've talked about it, and a lot of bands have talked about it, how corrupt it is. And it's so stupid. It's just music.
yeah,
Let's bring it back down to the level of what's rock and roll. What did rock and roll produce? If you start back to Chubby Checker, Elvis Presley, and what has driven what growing and growing and growing into some of the most amazing rock and roll heavy metal bands that go, we don't, well, we'll just deal with them another time.
yeah.
Tragic.
I do agree that it would be interesting. And again, we always kind of throw out future topics. We're probably not done talking about this, Stephen. I think,
No.
to dig into a little bit more, maybe tap into to some friends that might have a little bit more insight and experience
Yep.
related to this. Maybe track down Tom Morello and get some details.
Let's get an
I think,
interview with him.
yeah, I think all that would be fascinating
I
just
bet
to
we
kind
could
of.
do that.
I think so too. So, we've thrown out things before and we see it kind of come to fruition. So we're just going to kind of put it out there and kind of push forward on that. So in this, we're at the end of another show, guys. So as always, we appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, you can find us on uh, anywhere you can stream. You'll be able to get this content on YouTube as well. Again, check out Wheelie Q
Oh,
Barbecue,
gonna say, let's start
wheelieq.com.
that.
We're going to get some other sponsors, other areas that we can highlight in the coming weeks as well, Stephen, something that we'll be working on. But guys, again,
Great.
comment below,
Please.
like and subscribe. We actually got a bunch of new subscribers in the last couple days, so that was pretty cool. So continue to do it and let us know what you think about this topic and anything else. And until next time, guys, we appreciate it. We thank you, Stephen, as always. Great seeing you. And maybe I'll actually see you face to face, see how my schedule works the next few
We may
days.
have to
But
do a live together.
I will text you and let you know. There's
Let's
a
do a live
lot on the
together.
dance card, but we'll see what we can do.
Let's
Um,
do it.
but anyway, until next time, guys, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great week. Do something good. Talk about the show, talk about the topics. And until we see you again, see ya.
I thought those went very well, personally.
I do too. I have to end it now.
Oh, shit. Are we talking?
Thanks again for tuning in to the show. We'll be back every week with a brand new episode. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at Talking Show and also listen on Spotify or wherever you can stream a podcast. See ya.